Good evening. The Dolores County Broadcasting Network presents the DCTV 4-H Evening News Program for, is it the 11th of May already? Video sound engineer and producer is yours truly. Teleprompter and prompter will be Sandy. News anchors and meteorologists are Myra and Nolan. And this year's news director, Lynn. And now, the news.
It's Evening News Show. Help us keep our news show on the air by becoming a sponsor. You can buy a sponsorship by calling 970-67... Or do you want me to restart? Okay. 970-677-4119. That's 970-677-4119. Number of the COVID statistic in Colorado. 524,190 COVID-19 cases since the beginning of the pandemic. 28,650 hospitalized during that time. 6,520 total deaths. 5,130 outbreaks at residential and non-hospital healthcare facilities in the past year. By the county, in La Plata County, 3,924 cases and 39 deaths. In Montezuma County, 1,875 cases and 14 deaths. Archuleta County, 945 cases and 1 death. Dolores County, 80 cases. San Juan County, 45. San Miguel County, 875 cases and 1 death. San Juan County, New Mexico, 14,805 cases and 469 deaths. Be kind, don't let your guard or your mask down, and we can do this. Call a community health nurse to see when you can get on the list for the vaccine. Call 970-677-2387. Everyone 16 and older is now eligible to get the vaccine. Hi, I'm Noel with our first story from the Durango Herald. Boggy Draw prescribed burn resumes after rain delay. A prescribed burn in the Boggy Draw area north of Dolores on Saturday had to be suspended because of rain showers dampened fuels, according to the San Juan National Forest. Prior to the rain, crews burned 70 acres of the planned 946-acre burn unit located along Forest Road 527, about 80 miles north of town. The prescribed burn continues Sunday with hand and aerial ignitions. Forest officials reported optimal conditions for a low-intensity burn, according to a Facebook post from the San Juan National Forest. Fire crews plan to burn about 571 acres Sunday at the Boggy Draw unit. On Friday, fire crews completed the 1,162-acre prescribed burn on Hay Camp Mesa. The burn was kept under control and within the unit, according to the San Juan National Forest Facebook post. The Hay Camp prescribed burn area also received rain Sunday, and it is being patrolled and monitored while the Boggy Draw burn takes place. The Hay Camp Mesa prescribed burn unit is located along Forest Roads 556 and 390, about 10 miles east of Dolores. Burning operations began with hand ignition operations on the perimeter of the burn unit. Once the perimeter was secured, aerial ignitions were used to light the interior of the unit. The Hay Camp Mesa burn area is at a higher elevation where the vegetation is not as dry and temperatures are cooler than the surrounding lower areas that are under the red flag warning conditions. According to a Facebook post Friday from the San Juan National Forest Service, smoke from the Boggy Draw prescribed burn may be visible from highways 145, 184, 491, and the surrounding communities of Dolores, Mancos, and Cortez. There are 2 operational smoke monitor devices located in Dolores and Mancos to monitor smoke levels. These monitors are required by the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environmental smoke permitting process. According to forest officials, the prescribed burns are conducted to reintroduce fire into the ponderosa pine ecosystem, which reduces hazardous fuels, lessens the risk of unplanned large wildfires, and improves wildlife habitat.
Howdy, everybody out there. I'm going to first, apologize for my allergies. They were fine up until it's time to go on the air, and then they decide it's time to act up. So here we go. Story 2 from the Associated Press. This China adds few babies, loses workers as its 1.4 billion people age. The number of working age people in China fell over the past decade as its aging population barely grew. A census showed Tuesday, complicating Chinese leaders' efforts to create a more prosperous and influential nation. The total population rose to 1.411 billion people last year, up 72 million from 2010, according to the once-a-week census. Slow growth fell closer to zero as fewer couples had children. That adds to challenges for Chinese leaders who want to create a richer society and increase its global influence by developing technology industries and self-sustaining economic growth based on consumer spending. Sorry. The ruling Communist Party has enforced birth limits since 1980 to restrain population growth, but worries the workforce is shrinking. It has eased birth limits, but couples are put off by high costs, cramped housing, and job discrimination against mothers. The population of potential workers aged 15 to 59 fell to 894 million last year, the National Bureau of Statistics reported. That would be down 5% from a 2011 peak of 925 million. The percentage of children in the population edged up compared with 2010, but the group aged 60 and older grew faster. Changes in birth limits and other policies promoted a rebound in the birth population, the Bureau Director, Ning Zaishi, said at a news conference. However, Ning said 12 million babies were born last year, which would be down 18% from 2019's 14.6 million. China, along with Thailand and some other developing Asian countries that are aging fast, faces what economists call the challenge of whether it can grow rich before it grows old. Some warn China faces a demographic time bomb. The potential shortage of workers needed to generate economic activity and tax revenue comes as President Xi Jinping's government boosts spending on its military and efforts to create global competitors in electric cars and other technologies. The working age population will fall from 3/4 of the total in 2011 to just above half by 2015, according to Liu. If the population gets too old, it will be impossible to solve the problem through migration, said Liu. It needs to be dealt with at an early stage. Couples who want a child face daunting challenges. Many share crowded apartments with their parents. Child care is expensive and maternity leave short. Most single mothers are excluded from medical insurance and social welfare payments. Some women worry giving birth could hurt their careers. When you have a kid, you take pregnancy leave, but will you still have this position after you take the leave? Said Wei, I hope that's how they say that, who is returning from the United States after obtaining a master's degree. Relative to men, when it comes to work, women have to sacrifice more. Japan, Germany, and some other rich countries face the same challenge of supporting aging populations with fewer workers, but they can draw on investments in factories, technology, and foreign assets. By contrast, China is a middle-income country with labor-intensive farming and manufacturing. The decline in the working-age population will place a cap on China's potential economic growth, said Yu Su of the Economist Intelligence Unit in a report. That is a powerful incentive to introduce productivity-enhancing reforms. The party took its biggest step in 2015 when rules that limited many couples to having only one child were eased to allow two. However, China's birth rate, paralleling trends in South Korea, Thailand, and other Asian economies, already was falling before the one-child rule. The average number of children per mother tumbled from above 6 in the 1960s to below 3 by 1980, according to the World Bank. The one-child limit, enforced with threats of fines or loss of jobs, led to abuses, including forced abortions. A preference for sons led parents to kill baby girls, prompting warnings that millions of men might be unable to find a wife, fueling social tension. Thursday's data showed China has lost 105.7 million men and boys for every 100 women and girls, or about 33 million more males. After limits were eased in 2015, many couples with one child had a second, but total births fell because fewer had any at all. Some researchers say China's population already is shrinking. Xiaofluxian, a senior scientist in obstetrics and gynecology at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Here we go again. Says the population started to fall in 2018. He took Big Country with an Empty Nest, argued against the one child. His book, Big Country with an Empty Nest, ruled against the one-child limit. Female professionals welcome a chance to stay in satisfying careers, but others resent being forced to work more years, and keeping workers on the job, unable to help look after children, might discourage their daughters from having more. The latest data put China closer to be overtaken by India as the most populous country, which is expected to happen by 2025. India's population last year was estimated by the UN Department of Economic and Social Affairs at 1.38 billion, or 1.5% behind China. The agency says India should grow by 0.9% annually through 2025.
Stories from the Durango Herald. Contrails send Durangoans into a whirl. Dear Action Line, I was out walking on Sunday, May 2nd, and saw this interesting curving flight pattern in the sky above Missionary Ridge. I am used to seeing a linear flight pattern, so I'm wondering if you can find out what's going up in our Durango skies. Did the pilot possibly change his mind, or possibly have a case of vertigo or whirling disease? Curious Skywatcher. Dear Sky, well, if a coronavirus can jump from a bat to a human, then certainly whirling disease can jump from a fish to a human. Although pretty satisfied with that explanation, Action Line decided to search for another possible theory, and gave it a whirl and contacted Tony Vickery, aviation director at Durango La Plata County Airport. He had a different hypothesis, which, truth be told, might just be a little bit more believable. Severe thunderstorms in the Denver area on Sunday resulted in several commercial aircraft being diverted to DRO. Vickery said, this is a common situation when a large hub airport must now restrict inbound flow. Aircraft that are unable to gain clearance into the metered airspace must find an alternate landing site if their fuel falls below a certain threshold or their crew is near timing out. The aircraft might have to set up a holding pattern at an alternate airfield, which, while waiting, to see whether it can go ahead to the planned destination or must land at the alternate site. Vickery said, a SkyWest plane from Boise to Denver diverted to Durango late Sunday morning. Vickery shared a screenshot tracking with that flight. One of these loops looked like it may match up with that photo looking east over Missionary Ridge, he said. Whirling disease or simple aircraft diversion, you decide. Dear Action Line, is there a speed limit for cyclists on the Animas River Trail? Would it be safer to wait and walk the trail when I assume some of these athletes will be, or at least should be, competing at the Summer Games in Tokyo? Peter Pedestrian. Dear Pete, Durango contains a plethora of cyclists, and some go fast, actual racers, lots of racer wannabes, and dreamers racing themselves on Strava. Action Line falls into the latter category, but has matured over the decades into a caution-concerned rider on public trails and paths. Action Line slows to a track stand for pedestrians, dogs, and deer, uses a bell as a warning, stops to help old lady cross the railroad tracks, and asks everyone off their bike if they need medical help. Action Line has become very boring and annoying, and might not be that much help with your broken down bike anyway, but let's move on. Pete, assuming Olympics go on as scheduled July 23rd to August 8th despite COVID-19, locals are hoping that road cyclists Sepp Kuss, 26, and the mountain biker Christopher Belvins, 23, both Durango natives, will ride for the U.S., but that will take away only 2 people, perhaps their families, if they're even allowed to attend off-Durango paths. To answer the first question, there is no official speed limit on the city's hard surface trails, said Kathy Metz, Parks and Recreation Director. The city advises to keep your speed under 10 miles per hour and to slow down and use caution when approaching other trail users and blind turns.
Okay, now, our story 4 is from the Denver Post. California expands drought emergency to large swath of state. California Governor Gavin Newsom on Monday extended a drought emergency to a large swath of the nation's most populous state, while seeking more than $6 billion in multi-year water spending as one of the warmest, driest springs on record threatens another severe wildfire season across the American West. Oh, that's just the news we need, isn't it? The Democratic governor said he is acting amid acute water supply shortages in northern and central parts of California as he called again for voluntary conservation. Yet the state is in relatively better shape than it was when the last 5-year drought ended in 2017. He said, as good habits have led to a 16% reduction in water usage. His emergency declaration now includes 41 of 58 counties, covering 30% of California's nearly 40 million people. And he said a further expansion is likely as conditions worsen. The U.S. Drought Monitor shows most of the state and the American West is in extensive drought, just a few years after California emerged from the last punishing multi-year dry spell. We're staring down at what could be a disastrous summer and fall, with the potential of communities running out of water and still facing fires, said Democrat U.S. Representative Jim Costa, who accompanied Newsom on to the announcement made before a Central Valley reservoir with a deep bathtub ring on dry earth surrounded by browning grasses. Like most of the state's extensive interconnected system of reservoirs and canals, the San Luis Reservoir is at less than 60% of its seasonal average, as scarce winter rain and snow turns to a dry summer that Newsom says is imperiled by climate change. Officials fear an extraordinarily dry spring presages a wildfire season like last year, when flames burned a record 6,562 square miles. Ooh, that's a lot of land. The hots are going to get a lot hotter in this state. The city's dries are getting a lot drier, Newsom said. We have a conveyance system, a water system that was designed for a world that no longer exists. That requires the state to envision a much more resilient, a much more vibrant, much more dynamic water delivery system, he said, noting that the one largely constructed in the last mid-century to carry water from Northern California to the south helped us to build the world's largest middle class by enabling the state's population and agricultural growth. The governor is asking state lawmakers to approve what he said is a record $5.1 billion over 4 years for water projects, plus another $1 billion to help an estimated million Californians who are behind on their water bills, in part because of the economic hardship of the pandemic. His proposed water spending includes $1.3 billion for drinking water and wastewater systems, prioritizing smaller and poorer communities. And now one of our favorite things are dumb laws. Back to Nolan.
These are our dumb laws. Kites may not be flown within the city limits. More than 8 women may not live in the same house because that would constitute a brothel. It costs $50 extra for a permit for hurling, soccer, or Gaelic football games in a public park on a Sunday. Just Sunday. The state constitution allows for freedom of speech, a trial by jury, and pregnant pigs to not be confined in cages. Minors may not enter a room where a social game is being played. It is illegal to park a car on railroad tracks. I think it's nonsensical and probably painful. Exercising any labor, business, or work, or using any game, sport, play, or recreation, or causing any of the above to be done to or by your children, servants, or apprentices of the first day of the week, Sunday, results in a penalty of $5 for the first offense and $10 for the second. Now for our weather report.
Okay. Well, some of those also aren't quite so dumb as usual. Okay, our current weather data comes from the DCTV weather station located in beautiful downtown Dove Creek. The current temperature is 62 degrees. Today's high was 62 degrees. The low was 34 degrees. The barometer is at 29.85 and falling. Humidity is at 15%. Wind is 1 to 8 from the northwest. Gusts have been up to 24 miles per hour. There was 0.00 of an inch of moisture measured by the DCTV weather station today. Moisture for this month is 0.09 of an inch. Moisture accumulation for the year is 2.20 inches.
From the National Weather Service, here is the big map. The western quarter of the state is dry, dry, dry. Mixed precipitation starts in Montana and extends southeast to include the top half of our state. There. Here. Rain extends from a part of Nebraska and northern Kansas to North Carolina. Below that band is a large area of rain and thunderstorms from central New Mexico to the Atlantic coast, including all of Texas and Florida. Heavy rain and thunderstorms possible East Texas, Louisiana, and southern Mississippi. More rain is in 2 areas in the New England states.
Okay, and now we have the 5-day forecast.
And now for a 5-day forecast. Sorry. Sorry.
What?
Nothing. Now for a 5-day forecast. That's
Okay, Wednesday, sunny, high 69, low 39. Thursday, mostly sunny, high 76, low 45. Friday, mostly sunny, high 79, low 47. Sunday, partly sunny, high 77, low 46. Sunday, mostly sunny, the high 73 and low 43. Now back to Nolan.
Now for a climate change report. CO2, carbon dioxide, is considered a greenhouse gas and is one of the principal causes of climate change. CO2 traps heat in the atmosphere, which causes climate stability. The results are significant variations worldwide of moist and hot and cold temperatures. But the general climate trend is that the planet is slowly warming. Therefore, it is important that we report the CO2 change. The following are the CO2 numbers in parts per million. Last week is 420.01, 2 weeks ago is 418.20, last year is 416.95, 10 years ago is 393.48, 50 years ago is 328.94. Thanks to Dr. Peter Tanz of the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration and to Michael McGee of the CO2.Earth Network for providing this information. Remember, you can help keep your kids' news show on the air by buying a sponsorship. To become a sponsor, call 970-677-4119. That's 970-677-4119. Thank you. Now back to our news director.
And that's the end of today's DCTV 4-H Evening News Program. This is your news director, Lynn. Good night, and thank you for watching.